The weight of silence. The air in the house was thick, heavier than the Carolina humidity that clung to the windows outside. I stood in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room, clutching a chipped mug of tea I'd reheated twice. My name was Emily Harper, and I'd become a ghost in my own family's story. My sister Jessica perched on the edge of our parents' oversized cream sectional, her ring light casting a halo around her perfectly styled hair. She was live streaming again, basking in the glow of her 50,000 social media followers. My parents, Susan and Robert, sat nearby, nodding like she'd just won a Pulitzer instead of another batch of likes. I hadn't been mentioned once in the past hour. That wasn't new. I'd mastered the art of fading into the background, blending into the beige walls of our Charlotte home. Sometimes I wondered if the furniture noticed me more than they did. But then it happened. Jessica's laptop flickered, and her voice jumped half an octave. "Oh my God, not now!" Her curated smile vanished. "Why does this always happen when you're around, Emily?" she snapped, her words slicing through the room like a knife. I blinked, stunned. "What?" "You stress me out just by breathing," she barked. "You throw off my vibe." I looked around expecting anyone, to call her out, but my mother stood, brushing imaginary lint from her lap. "She's not wrong," Susan said calmly. "Every time something good happens, you find a way to ruin it. You've ruined her life, Emily. Honestly, you've ruined ours too." My father didn't speak. He just rubbed the bridge of his nose as if this was all too familiar, too exhausting. Heat crept up my neck, but I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't defend myself. Instead, I turned and walked down the hall to the guest bedroom they'd grudgingly let me use while I figured things out. The door stuck as I closed it, the carpet smelling of dust and expired air freshener. I moved like a robot, stuffing essentials into a backpack I hadn't touched since college. No photos, no cards, no sentimental trinkets. I'd stopped collecting those when I realized no one cared. 15 minutes later, I was out the door. No one asked where I was going. No one asked if I'd be back. The street was silent, the kind of quiet that follows a fight where words hit harder than fists. I walked 2 blocks to a gas station, its fluorescent lights humming like a headache. I bought a granola bar and a bottle of water out of habit, not hunger. "Bus still running?" I asked the clerk. "Last one's in 8 minutes, if he's on time." He wasn't, but I waited on a cold metal bench, my backpack between my legs like a life raft. When the bus finally arrived, I climbed on and didn't look back. The ride into downtown Charlotte felt endless. I kept my head down, watching the city lights blur past like smudged paint. No one made eye contact, and that was almost comforting. At the end of the line, I stepped off and walked to a beige motel with a flickering neon sign, the kind of place you only go when you've run out of options or people. The man at the desk didn't ask questions. He handed me a key with a scratched-off number rewritten in marker. "Cash or card," he mumbled, eyes glued to a reality show. I handed over my last $42. The room smelled of stale cigarettes and cheap cleaning fluid. I dropped my backpack by the bed and sat on the mattress, which creaked loudly in the quiet. I didn't undress. I didn't cry. I stared at a water stain on the ceiling, shaped like a broken heart or a burned-out star, depending on how you tilted your head. My phone sat face down on the nightstand. No buzz, no texts, no "where are you?" or "come home." Nothing. Then it vibrated once. I reached for it, half hopeful, half numb. A notification. Reminder. Unopened Mother's Day gift from Emily. Delivered 2 years ago. A box I'd mailed, wrapped in tissue paper, containing silk handkerchiefs monogrammed with Susan's initials. She never opened it. They never opened me. Chapter 2. The Spark of Defiance. I was up before the sun, counting what I had left, $270 and some change. No job, no home. But that notification made the math feel less like a countdown and more like a challenge. I walked toward downtown, my feet aching before I reached the corner gas station. But I kept going. A cafe near the bus depot had a chalkboard sign. Free Wi-Fi, coffee refills all day. That was enough. Inside, it smelled of burnt toast and floor cleaner. I ordered the cheapest coffee, $1.75, and took a seat by the outlet. I logged into Freelance, tutoring platforms I'd bookmarked years ago but never used. One had an old profile saved. I updated it, specializing in SAT-ACT prep, writing support, study planning, patient, reliable. Under About Me, I wrote, I believe in showing up, even when no one else does. By noon, I'd applied to 16 listings. Parents, desperate for help with test scores, students drowning in college pressure. People I understood in ways my family never tried to. Halfway through the 5th application, I paused. The words reliable, compassionate listener stared back at me. I heard my grandmother's voice. You were always the one who listened. She'd said it during Sunday dinners when I sat at her feet, absorbing stories while everyone else talked over each other. She saw something in me, not loud, not flashy, but real. I swallowed hard, remembering her funeral. In the reception hall, surrounded by polite people and bad coleslaw, a family friend leaned in. Your grandmother's second letter was beautiful. I hope it brought you peace. Second letter? I blinked. I only got one. Her face fell. Oh, I must have been mistaken. She said she wrote you another, 8 months before she passed. I asked my mother about it 3 days later, still giving her the benefit of the doubt. She didn't blink. Oh, it wasn't important. Just sweet old lady things. But it never arrived. Another piece of me, erased. A pattern so subtle you don't notice until your edges are sanded down by people who claim to love you. I shook off the memory and refocused. A ding, one parent responded, then another. By week's end, I had 3 clients, 2 high schoolers and an adult learner prepping for a GED. The library 2 blocks away let guests borrow Chromebooks for online sessions. I booked 2-hour slots daily and treated them like my life depended on it, because it did. The pay was modest, but every dollar felt earned. My students listened, asked questions, said thank you. One girl, Riley, said, "You're the only person who's explained this in a way that makes sense." Being seen by strangers in ways my family never saw, me felt strange, but good. That evening, I returned to the motel and recorded my income on the back of the check-in receipt. Tutoring hours, PayPal payments, how much I could spend, 2 more nights. The room smelled of bleach and damp curtains, but it was mine. For the first time in years, pride uncoiled in my chest. They never noticed what I was building, I said aloud to no one, because they never thought I could. It wasn't bitterness, it was clarity, cold and clean. As I was about to silence my phone, a post popped up. Family is who shows up when it matters. Don't ever forget that. Jessica's caption, her face gleaming next to Susan's, both holding glasses of something bubbly. But my eyes locked on the background, a family portrait on the wall. I wasn't. In it, I zoomed in. The familiar hallway wall, textured beige, soft shadow from the lamp. But the frame was new. Gone was the old photo from when I was 16, when we still pretended I belonged. In its place, Jessica in the center, Susan beaming, Robert stiff but smiling, even their golden retriever Max sitting proudly. A hallmark version of our family, with me erased. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, physically. I didn't cry. I thought I might, but all I felt was a slow, rising heat. Not sadness, not quite rage, something quieter, heavier, like watching someone discard a letter before reading it. I scrolled through Jessica's page. Throwback to the good old days. Family dinner last Sunday. Grateful for my tribe. I was barely in frame or cropped out entirely. Now I was just gone. A memory hit. I was 9, standing on a stool for a church. Group photo. Everyone laughed when Jessica joked, "Emily always looks like she photobombed us." Susan kind of defended me. She's just shy. But they moved me to the edge anyway. Out of frame was easier. Chapter 3. The unopened envelope. Reached for my tote bag, needing a distraction. I organized tutoring inquiries, replied to students, filtered messages. Then I checked my spam folder. A subject line, Re-Family Podcast Opportunity, sent by Jessica, with me CC'd. My stomach clenched. It was a pitch to a PR rep for a podcast. Episode on modern family dynamics through resilience and social media influence. At the bottom, Jessica wrote, "She's just bitter and emotionally unstable. We don't talk for a reason. I don't want her involved. It's taken years to rebuild the family's image." My hand tightened around the phone. I reread it 3 times, each word louder. Bitter, unstable, rebuild. I didn't cry or scream. I took screenshots, printed the email at the library the next morning, and taped it to the motel wall beside my grandmother's letter. One believed I could build. The other believed I didn't matter enough to be seen. I grabbed a pen and a motel notepad, mapping it out. Dates, comments, dismissals, the slow erasure, the insults now in writing. It didn't feel petty. It felt necessary. Later that week, a Dallas-based SAT prep group offered me virtual sessions at $75 per student. It meant I could stop living off dollar coffee and hope. I accepted without celebration, just a quiet satisfaction that didn't need to be seen. By Friday, I had enough for a room in a shared apartment a few miles out. Not a palace, but it had a locking door and no neon sign. I sat on the bed, tracing the email's edge. I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake. There's a difference. Knock startled me. Sharp. Hesitant. Through the peephole, I saw Mila, my former best friend, looking thinner, tired, clutching something wrapped in a dish towel. "Emily," she said softly. "They said you were in trouble." I didn't believe them until I saw this. I let her in. She hesitated, like crossing the threshold meant betraying someone. She handed me a small envelope, my name in my own handwriting. "It's still sealed," she whispered. "I found it in your mom's desk, under expired coupons." I stared. It was the envelope I'd mailed for Susan's birthday last year, with a gift card to her favorite cafe and a letter about second chances. She never opened it. Mila sat across from me as I slid a fingernail under the flap. The pink note unfolded. "Mom, if there's still a space in your heart for me, I'd like to sit there again. Not asking for everything, just a callback. I miss our Tuesday talks. I miss you. Love, Emily." I read it twice, then folded it back. Even the words I sent didn't matter. Not enough to open, not enough to throw away, just forgotten, like a losing scratch-off ticket. Mila spoke. "That's not all." She slid printed pages across the table. "Jessica's new site, the Success Academy. I used to help you build this stuff, remember? I'd know your voice anywhere." I scanned the pages, my breath caught. She'd stolen it all. My intro text, my diagnostic rubric, my diagrams, even the layout and color palette. Now it was under Jessica's name, her photos, her brand. "She said you gave it to her?" Mila added. I knew that was a lie. I laughed, a short, breathless sound. Even my sidebars, even the headers. My voice shook, but I stayed still, like movement would crack the betrayal wider. Mila left hours later, hugging me tightly, tears in her eyes. The room was quiet again, just the hum of the mini fridge and the creak of pipes. Then my phone buzzed. Missed call, Robert, another and another, 14 by morning, voicemails followed. The last was from my father, weary. Emily, your sister's getting dragged online. Some blog picked up the story. They're calling it plagiarism. She's saying you're lying, but we need your help to calm it down. She's not handling it. Well, no apology, no acknowledgement, just the usual. We need you when it burns. I didn't answer. I sat with the phone on my lap, screen flickering. They only call when I can fix what they broke, I whispered to the silence. Chapter 4. The Hidden Legacy. I opened my laptop, hovering over my curriculum archive folder. My finger grazed the delete key. Maybe I should erase it all, like they erased me. But a folder caught my eye. Grandma, legal. I clicked. Inside was a scan I barely remembered uploading. Will Emily. My grandmother's signature, her handwriting, a clause stating I, Emily Harper, was the sole recipient of her educational materials, curriculum, and teaching frameworks. I was the legal heir to the work Jessica had stolen, scanned 5 years ago, hidden ever since. The next morning, the weight of that file hadn't faded. I stared at it as sunlight crept through the dusty blinds, illuminating my screen like a spotlight. My grandmother had protected me quietly, legally, and Susan had ignored it. My phone buzzed. Another voicemail. Susan's voice softer. Emily, please. You can't let the family fall apart. Your sister's career is hanging by a thread. Then, Jessica's voicemail panicked. You're just bitter, always bitter. We gave you everything and this is how you repay us? I could see her pacing, mascara streaking, blaming me like always. We gave you everything. A joke. My hands were steady as I printed the will and pinned it beside the email and my grandmother's note. All told the same story. I'd been erased. And now they wanted me to paint myself back in to fix their mess. By lunch, I'd decided. I found a lawyer in Austin specializing in intellectual property and booked a consultation. I brought the printout and said calmly, I'm not suing. Not yet. I want this documented, verified, publicly filed. I want ownership known. The lawyer, Margot, raised an eyebrow. You don't need a lawsuit to take back what's yours. Just a notice. I left her office with paperwork, sunlight warming my back, and a flicker of control. That night, a knock. 3 firm raps. Through the peephole, Susan, Robert, and Jessica. I opened the door, but didn't invite them in. The hallway air was sharp, like glass ready to shatter. Susan's lipstick was faded, her hands trembling. Robert was silent. Jessica's eyeliner was smudged, her shine cracking. We made mistakes, Susan began. But family means forgiving. No, I said softly. Family meant not burning my letters, opening my envelope, saying my name in your posts. Susan looked down. I turned to Jessica, who met my gaze like a caught child, unrepentant. I'm not fixing your mess, I told them, stepping back. I closed the door with a click and locked it. Chapter 5. The counterattack. After showering off the tension and pouring chamomile tea, I checked my email. A red notification. Your professional site has been flagged and temporarily suspended due to multiple copyright violation claims. My stomach twisted. They'd come for me not with words, but paperwork. Another erasure. By morning, the sky was a dull gray, light feeling like pressure. My phone showed a red banner. Your website has been temporarily suspended due to a reported copyright violation. More notifications followed. Urgent copyright claim review pending. The claim cited proprietary content in use without consent from an anonymized IP. Margot called within the hour. It traces to Jessica's branding agency, not a coincidence. I didn't scream or cry. I took a breath, opened a new folder, and began. Screenshots of every page, time-stamped lesson, outline, diagram. The PDF of my grandmother's will, highlighted. Early drafts from cloud backups, predating Jessica's academy. I wrote the counterclaim with the tone of someone with nothing to prove. I don't scream anymore. I type to myself. I document. Emailed my tutoring clients and contacts, attaching original materials, timestamps, drafts, and my legal rights. No dramatics, just clarity. Replies rolled in, most supportive. One stopped me. A Houston mom wrote, "Your course saved my daughters. Future, don't let them take this from you." I printed it and placed it beside the will. One born of blood, one of effort. Together they were real. By evening, the storm wasn't mine anymore. Jessica posted cryptically, "People love to take credit once the hard work's done." But the internet wasn't buying it. An intern she'd fired posted screenshots, timestamps, chat logs, Canva templates, all tied to me, predating her brand. Comments turned fast. "This looks like erasure. Why's Emily not credited? Y'all believe the family brand too easily." I didn't respond. I sat on my couch with peppermint tea, laptop in my lap. For the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt still, strong. Chapter 6. The Truth. Speaks Margot called past 10 p.m. "Emily, don't panic. Jessica's team filed an emergency injunction to block your site permanently, and your name's being dragged in a Reddit thread gaining traction. Their last swing, an ambush, not an apology." I looked at the papers on my wall. This wasn't personal anymore. It was war. I didn't rush. I made coffee, let the kettle hiss, cracked the window for cold air. Then I opened my laptop. The injunction. Cease and desist pending court review. My name, my course, my students, frozen. The Reddit thread. My sister stole everything and turned our family against me. Jessica's phrasing, flipping the narrative. I was the jealous sister now. Comments were brutal. What kind of person does this to family? Ungrateful. I almost closed the page. Then a comment. Funny how the receipts always show up when the loud ones overplay their hand. It reminded me I had the receipts. I set up my webcam, room dim, no makeup, just me. I read the will's ownership clause aloud, showed the signed page, screen shared original files, drafts, timestamps, side-by-side comparisons of Jessica's rebranded content, and the emails scrubbing my name. I looked into the lens. They say silence is strength, but sometimes truth needs a voice. This is mine. No music, no dramatic cut. I uploaded and let it go. Within 2 hours, my phone buzzed nonstop. Old clients shared the video. "This woman helped my son pass his GED. She's the reason my kid got into college." A teacher reposted my slides. A blogger stitched it on TikTok, praising my clarity. Reddit moderators labeled the thread a misrepresentation and locked comments. The tide was turning. Late that night, Susan's voicemail. "We're sorry. Not for everything, maybe not yet, but for now. You didn't deserve that, Emily." She didn't ask me to call back, and I didn't. The part of me that craved those words since I was 9 didn't jump. It listened and let it settle. Chapter 7. The final stand-a knock came hours later. A delivery man with a small box. Certified, signature required. Inside, a cream envelope from Jessica's lawyer. Proposed settlement agreement, confidentiality required. Full rights and name restoration for non-disparagement. A 6-figure check for silence. I read it twice. Once as the woman who second-guessed herself, then as the woman I'd become. I walked to my shredder, slid in the papers, and listened as the blades turned their offer to dust. That afternoon, I posted my final statement. No video, just a still image. My name, credentials, and you don't owe people silence just because they shared your last name. I won't take hush money for pain I never caused. By nightfall, it spread. Women, educators, daughters, sisters shared it, naming their own erasures. One message. I thought I was the only one. Thank you for saying what I couldn't. In my new home office, overlooking a bus stop, I hung my grandmother's note. You will build what no one sees today. Beside it, Margot's letter. Ownership. Affirmed, IP registered, curriculum protected. My desk was modest, but it was mine. I haven't heard from my family since. Not on birthdays. Not when Jessica's site shut down. Not when Susan sold the house. Some say to cover legal fallout. Others say she'd had enough. I didn't wait for gossip or apologies. They weren't monsters, just people who made me win when it was easier than facing themselves. I didn't fight to punish them. I fought to free myself. Freedom is quieter than I imagined, but not empty. Last month, I launched a scholarship fund in my grandmother's name. Small, but enough to help kids like my old tutoring students. Thank you notes arrived, mostly from strangers. One was from a student I taught at the library. You were the first one who told me I could do it. I believed you. I sat with that letter, not because it hurt, but because it didn't. This was the life I built in the silence they thought would bury me. A few days ago, I mailed a copy of my grandmother's note to a girl I once tutored who'd been told she was too much. No return address, just, you will build what no one sees today. Maybe one day, in a motel room or a moment of doubt, those words will do for her what they did for me. Have you ever stopped chasing the apology that never came and realized peace was the real closure? Have you been erased by your own family and still found the strength to build something lasting? Share your story.